Welcome back now to Movie Spotlight, our weekly Friday feature reviewing some of the latest releases at the Korean box office and online. And we have our film critics joining us for that. First, we have in the studio with us Darcy Paquet. Darcy, hello, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Johnny.
And we have joining us via video today due to scheduling issues, Jason Bechervaise. Jason, hello, hope you're doing well.
Yes, I am well. How are you both doing?
We're both good, I think. It's nice to see your DVD collection in the background there, showing off your movie love, I see.
Yeah. It's well placed. I'm obviously a movie fan, a movie buff. So I'm trying to get a hold of some posters actually, so I can
sure that'll complete the office look.
Yeah, but as you know, I'm trying to get some Memories of Murder and some Bong posters. But they're really, really hard to get hold of. So yes, it's hopefully one day.
Showing off your love for skiing as well, I see. Okay, anyway, gentlemen, our first film today is a streaming title directed and written by Richard Linklater, perhaps most famous for his Before Romance trilogy, but he has had a highly celebrated and rich career over the years. So we have a new film of his, an animated feature called Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood. Korea has a slightly different title, Apollo 10.5 Space Age Adventure. It's set in 1960s Texas as the space race was getting into full swing. So let's turn to you, Jason. Can you tell us a bit more about this one?
Yeah, sure. I think many of our listeners will be familiar with the work of Richard Linklater. You've got the Before trilogy. He also helmed, of course, Boyhood, that was released in 2014, that attracted a lot of attention. And watching this new film, Apollo 10.5, or I like to call it Apollo 10.5, it reminded me of Boyhood. You know, it's a coming of age film, also has a vibrant OST. And again, a trait of Linklater, with the OST, but also his use of Jack Black. And he's the voice of Stanley in Apollo, the central character in this animation. He's a fourth grader, part of a really big, large family. You know, this is baby boom America. In the 1960s, his father worked for NASA, not as an astronaut, but as a manager in logistics. And we see this boy grow up in America at a time when the US is determined to put a man on the moon before the Russians, while society is also changing. We've got the Vietnam War, we've got civil rights, and all amidst the ever-growing threats of nuclear war. And so as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin head to the moon, we actually follow a fictional tale of this young boy Stanley making that trip as NASA needs someone smaller to fit in the lunar module. It's actually loosely based on Linklater's childhood. He grew up in Houston, Texas. The film premiered South by Southwest Film Festival, also in Texas, in March, and dropped on Netflix last week.
Okay, so Darcy, this film has already attracted strong praise, which is perhaps not surprising, given his reputation as a filmmaker and a writer, and someone who's generally well-liked in the US film industry. What do you make of this film, Darcy?
Yeah, it's quite unusual, I think. I mean, on the surface, it looks fairly ordinary. You know, he uses this rotoscoping technique that he's used in other animated films in the past, like Waking Life. But it's very nostalgic. You know, it's a look back on growing up in the 1960s, and and so it has a bit of a Wonder Years feel to it and everything else. But actually, if you look at the storytelling, it is quite unusual because there's very little plot. Actually, it's there's a funny moment where at the beginning they set this up and they explain to him, these people come from NASA and they say, accidentally we built this lunar module a bit too small and, we can't fit an adult inside it, so we need you. And it's like this kid's fantasy. And then they say, well, before we continue the story, let's, give some backdrop about what was going on at the time. And for the next 45 minutes, it completely drops the story. And basically, it's just a series of these recollections of what it was like growing up and what kind of cereal they eat and what they ate on TV and what it was like to watch TV back in that era when there were only 3 channels and, you had to, everything was programmed at a certain time, so the kids were fighting over what to watch.
Right.
So, it feels a lot like kind of, sitting next to someone telling you about their childhood and how things were so different when they were growing up. But it's done with such care and attention to detail, and, the images are really arresting. And so despite the fact that there's no story, it is still quite entertaining to watch.
It's a little bit like Boyhood as well. Boyhood doesn't really have a story either.
Yeah.
Jason, what about you? You mentioned that it did remind you of Boyhood, but of course, this is an animated feature as well. It's not his first animated feature, of course. Darcy mentioned Waking Life. There's also A Scanner Darkly. Taking all that into consideration, Jason, where does this film fit into his career?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of everything there. I quite liked it. I mean, Darcy mentioned that first, for 45 minutes or so, where very much kind of wallows in nostalgia, but it's done really well. I think if there's a criticism, is that it lacks tension. So you've got this kind of the first half of the film where it's kind of, it's looking back at America in the 1960s. It's all very colourful. It's all very well written. There's not really much in the way of narrative tension. And then in the second half of the film, you've got this journey to the moon, but it doesn't really feel all that riveting. It's enjoyable, but it's not riveting.
You kind of know the ending too. So.
Yeah.
You know how the moon landing is going to go.
Yeah. So it is unique, and it's certainly very well written in terms of the way it kind of delves into American life, and also kind of in doing so, it reminds you of there are similarities to today, of course. Not least in terms of what's going on between Russia and the rest of the world, but also there's this image where Darcy mentioned as well, where you've got and they're showing you the different shows that are available and how some seasons were cancelled. That kind of feels like today as well. Obviously, it's modeled, but sure. With streamers and whatnot. But I found it really enjoyable. But it lacks a bit of tension.
Okay, so that was Apollo 10.5, A Space-Age Childhood. Let's move on now and turn to our local release. It's called The Girl on a Bulldozer, or in Korean, 불도저에 탄 소녀. Darcy, I understand that this is a literal title that features a female lead and a bulldozer.
I know it's a great title. You just have to look at the title to get kind of interested in watching it. And then there is this image, in the film of the main character in a bulldozer. And it's not just the fact that she knows how to operate this bulldozer, but, her personality as well. She's very... how should we say it? She's very driven. She doesn't take no for an answer. And she's in a situation where she's been mistreated horribly, like her and the rest of her family. And she kind of sets out to it's partly to get revenge, partly to fix things, but it's really her anger that drives the narrative. If you weren't aware of it from the title, she also has this dragon tattoo that goes all the way up her arm.
Right, yes.
And so she has a sleeve that she wears most of the time, but when she's looking to intimidate someone, she'll pull it off. And then...
Just to set a little bit of the story, her father, I understand, has a gambling issue and debt as well, and then he gets involved in a car accident, a mysterious car accident, where he's left in a coma, and she's left in a situation where she's trying to find out more about this car accident because it's not all as it seems, right?
Yeah, we gradually figure out the details and we fill in exactly what happened. Initially it looks quite bad, and obviously it is quite bad in terms of the consequences, but her father has a gambling problem. He's in over his head in debt, but it's not just the gambling, it's more than that. And, he's involved in a business with a Chinese restaurant, but people around him have also taken advantage of him. And so she feels very upset with her father Her mother has passed away. But yeah, when this accident takes place, then everything kind of falls to her. And so she ends up both looking after her younger brother and trying to find some solution to the situation they're in.
Sure, I understand this film premiered in Busan last year and also screened at the Osaka Film Festival last month. Jason, this is an independent film, and Korean indie features have a perhaps a reputation that they can get quite dour when they deal with the plight of young people in Korea. Sure, but is this of a similar mold, or is it something different?
Yes and no. I mean, it is in a sense. I mean, it's quite depressing in that you've got this character and you're really rooting for her, and she's just been completely screwed over by those around her, and it's horrific. But at the same time, you're really rooting for her. She's such a charismatic person. I mean, she's so tenacious, and she refuses to give in, and she's really obstinate. And by the end of it, you've got this kind of climax. I don't want to give too much away, but you've got this kind of climax scene. He's in this bulldozer, and you're going, yeah, go for it. You tear it. And so yeah, it is dark and in some respects, and we've seen this all before in how society is just really and those in it are just treating these individuals just really, really badly. At the same time, I think the leading performance by Kim Hye-yoon is just so fantastic. I mean, clearly she's a rising star and she's really talented, and I certainly want to see what she does going ahead. She was in Sky Castle as well, and she really takes this performance and takes it to another level. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I watched it in Busan, and then I watched it again yesterday, and I thought it was a really riveting film in a sense, and I would highly recommend it. I mean, it doesn't have lots of layers in terms of its storytelling. Yes, it's conventional, but that leading performance is absolutely fantastic.
Sure, so it's his debut feature by this director, Park Ri-woong. But it seems like this film is very much driven by the lead here, Kim Hye-yoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what people are going to remember about this film. And, she had the look of determination on her face. It's something that we see a lot of in this film, but it leaves a strong impression. And again, also just the image of her in this bulldozer is really memorable. So I think this movie, this is the kind of movie that, may not attract a huge audience. Ultimately, there may not be a huge number of people who see it, but this would do really good things for this actress's career, I think, because it shows that she's got some range, that, she's got some real power behind her acting. So I think she can be very happy with how this film turned out.
Okay, so once again, that was... Go on.
Sorry, no. Yeah, there were these moments as well, actually, where she can be quite intimidating, but at the same time, there are also there are these moments in the narrative where she's having these really kind of very touching moments with her younger brother, and so you kind of see both sides to her acting, and I think she's got a bright future ahead of her for sure.
So once again, that was The Girl on a Bulldozer, and it's out now in Korean theatres. And for any listeners who might not know, we've been uploading our movie spotlight reviews on our KBS World Radio YouTube page for the last couple of months. So please do check that out as well. We'll wrap it up there. Jason, Darcy, thank you both for your reviews, and we'll catch up with you again next time.
Yeah, see you next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.